Hiya, ladies. I thought it would probably be most useful to do our training course in this way so that you can look at the material whenever you get the chance. Uh, Stop if you want to rewind something, replay something, and hopefully get the best out of it rather than trying to fit in at the end of the day when we're all um, rushing to get home and be with family and what have you. Okay, so if we just have a quick recap of Unit 1. Unit 1, we started off by discussing the need for improving TA performance, and it's very important to think that that fits in with whole school improvement. Okay, we're all of us needing to refine what we're doing and move forward all the time. So a couple of the most important things that we looked at in Unit 1 was what makes an effective partnership and how can you increase your effectiveness as a teaching assistant. And we've had many conversations about having TAs more involved in the planning. My feeling is that you ladies and in general also the teachers that you work for feel that the current situation is right and everybody's comfortable. TAs, generally speaking, don't sit in on the planning meetings, but most people still feel they are getting enough information about the planning. And I would just say, fine, but have a think about that. What currently works well? What would make things even better? Okay, so if we leave the relationship between teachers and TAs and the planning aside, are there any other ways that you can change the way you work? Earlier, way back before Ramadan, when we started working together, I asked you to consider 3 models of teaching assistant support. Are you velcroed to the children? Are you stuck to them like glue, not leaving them to do anything independently? Are you a helicopter, constantly floating around overhead? Or are you a bridge builder to better give the children the steps, the tools that they need to build towards greater understanding? And you've probably guessed by the way I've said that which one I think is the most effective. Which do you think is the most effective? Which do you think is the least effective? Okay, and you may find that some methods are effective in the short term, but not in the long term. Okay, and what I think we really have to avoid is learned helplessness, that a child just goes, oh, well, the teaching assistant always comes to help me, so I'll just sit and wait and do nothing until she comes and helps me. Because the way things are at the moment, when they get to year 3, they won't have your support anymore. So we do really need to make sure that they have the tools to do that independently. Okay, so to return to the planning a little bit, do you get enough information about the lessons so that you can contribute fully to the children's learning? Do you have access to long-term, medium-term and short-term planning? Would it be useful? Would it make your work more effective? Another thing to think about, do you have enough information about what the children can do and where they're starting from? Again, would more information be useful? And if you don't have these pieces of information, if you don't have access to the planning and you're not entirely sure where the children have been starting off from, can you judge if you've been successful in your role? In the pack of handouts that I gave you, there was a daily record sheet. I think it's 1.3, it was labelled, which might be useful to fill out over a couple of days and see if anything stands out for you, something that you're not confident about, you don't think is going particularly well or could be better. And hopefully it would also highlight some successful strategies that you're using in the class. Okay, that was pretty much where we'd got up to with the course. If we go on to this slide, they then move on to talk about working out a pupil passport. Okay, so on this slide, they are discussing having a pupil passport, which we're not thinking about introducing. However, some of the features, you can see the key features on the screen there, and some of those are quite useful ways of talking to the students and starting off a conversation or a discussion with children who often struggle. That can be quite a good way of leading out the children's discussions with you and to enable you to give them help that is on point. Okay, so if you can use some of the language there on the slide and encourage the children to report back to you using that language, then I think that could be quite useful. So what I would like you to think about at the end of Unit 1 is, what has this unit made you consider or think about your performance and what you do in the classroom? I would like you to name one thing that you will think about further and try out when you're teaching, and share it with colleagues, and then think about what happens next. If you can, communicate with me in any way you see fit about what that one thing is that you will think about and try and do. Speak to me in person, email me, WhatsApp me, send me a voice note. I do not mind. If you will do that, then that is your assessment for Unit 1. And if you are able to discuss with me, to tell me one thing that you are going to think about and try to implement from this first unit in your teaching, then I will consider that you have passed Unit 1. Okay? Thanks, ladies. Speak to you soon.